Oh, I'll have to tell you the whole story, the Oxford chemist.
I'm learning so much today. This is fantastic.
Hi, I'm Paula.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And we are going to be making several kinds of yogurt today.
Paula's going to be making a traditional yogurt, and I'm going to be making the non-dairy version.
I have been making yogurt for a long time. My grandmother, my Armenian grandmother, I think first demonstrated it to me when I was about 6 years old. And I've been making it pretty much ever since.
I've been making vegan yogurt for about 4 days.
We do want to encourage you because it is such a simple process and the yogurt is so delicious when you make it yourself. So the system is going to be this. We are basically going to heat up our milk or our vegan substitute to a temperature which will pasteurize the milk and make it ready to receive a little bit of an inoculant from old yogurt, old meaning former yogurt, which will be full of the wonderful bacteria that you want to grow. Whenever you finish your incubation, a few hours later, you will have a lovely product which you can then put in the refrigerator and enjoy for a long time.
All right, well, let's boil milk.
So the first stage is not to boil the milk actually, but to bring it up to 180 or 170 degrees. I've got 3 pints of milk here, not quite. I just want to make 3 mason jars of yogurt, so I don't use a full half gallon. And we're going to heat this up fairly quickly. I like to add dried milk to my milk because it enriches it, it makes more protein, even better for you than straight milk, but it also makes a thicker product. You will be amazed that the yogurt that's made this way is very close to what you buy as Greek yogurt, which has actually been filtered and thickened by taking the whey away.
That was good. I liked it. I see you got a plastic spatula there.
Well, it's a silicone one, so it goes into the hot liquid. I find it much easier to stir with this. You can clean out the sides of the pan.
Yeah, I use the same thing.
You use the same thing?
Because there's some metals that when I inoculate the yogurt with the new starter, the mother, the metals can actually kill the cultures.
Now I'm looking for not boiling milk, but just short of boiling milk, about 180 degrees. A boiling point, of course, is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's about 40 degrees short of actually boiling. And I have this thermometer which will give me a nice indication of how it's going, if I can read it. Can you read that? That's about...
Oh, we are about 115, it looks like.
So that is actually the temperature in the end we're going to want to incubate at. But at the moment we are pasteurizing this milk, making it clean of all the bacteria that we don't want in it, even though maybe the bottle told us that it was pasteurized, but we're just making sure that it really is. But now I am adding half a cup of dried milk, which of course is sterile, and just to thicken the yogurt and to make it even more nutritious than if you use plain milk. You do not have to use it, of course. So I am using full fat 4% milk from the supermarket, but of course if you have a local source of farm fresh milk, that's very desirable, and even if it's not homogenized. Now my grandmother, my Armenian grandmother, used to use, of course they didn't have homogenized milk back then, and the fat would come to the top, and of course it also turns into yogurt, and of course it's delicious, the cream at the top. If you look up yogurt making, you find that they tell you all different temperatures, anything from 165 to 180. And another thing to notice too is that a lot of places they tell you to keep the temperature at that high temperature, the pasteurizing temperature, for about 10 minutes. And the reason is that it evaporates some of the moisture out of the milk, so it makes a thicker product. But my system of making it with a little dried milk, I don't find that necessary. So as soon as it gets to a good temperature, and Mike, I think we're up to it.
We're at 160.
160, well, let's get to 165.
Okay.
160 again.
It is, it's good to stay right there. It's like a terrible game of Plinko.
Well, I watch pot never boils, you know, even if you don't want it to boil.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Are we up to 165? Okay. What we want to do now is watch the surface for little bubbles just appearing, but not actually bursting or anything like that. The best thing is to have a thermometer, and then you know what you're doing. But if you don't have a thermometer, you look for the little bubbles coming just to the surface of the milk. And once they start, you're good to go. So we can turn the heat off.
Right, got it.
And I'm going to bring this over to the workstation. And we are going to pour the pasteurized milk directly into these bottles. They have all been through the dishwasher, thoroughly heated and washed and rinsed. So everything is very clean. So now we will just transfer this, and I like these canning funnels very much, Mike.
I do too.
Because they've got nice wide surfaces. You need to leave a little extra room because you're going to add your starter yogurt, which I put in a little bottle here. And this is from a batch which I made a few days ago. I only use about 2 teaspoons for all of this. You don't need a whole lot because once it starts going, it's going to keep on, it's exponential. It grows and grows and grows. I will put a little bit of the milk into this. This is where I'm going to put my starter, and I usually whisk it in with a spoon or a whisk.
You don't want to do that when it's 165 degrees.
Thank you. No, we wait patiently for it to get down to room temperature. Because
we got it up that high to kill everything off. And if we put the things we want to keep in there.
Thank you. Absolutely. And that's one mistake I haven't made. I've made mistakes in making this over the years, but I have never actually put the starter in the scalding milk.
Yeah, I've got a 100% success rate in my batches.
Oh, that's very good.
Well, it's only been one batch.
Oh, that's right, 4 days. Well, I haven't had lack of success, I'd say, in the last 20 years. I think
You may have it down to a system now.
Well, I have been making it a long time. There's rather lovely family story because I have been saying for some years to I have 3 children, a son and 2 daughters, and I've been encouraging them to make their own yogurt because they buy those little tubs. And I say, oh, it's so expensive that way, and you can make better yogurt. You can flavor it and put sugar in it if you want to. You can do whatever you want. And eventually one of them started making it and discovered it was really, really good. And lo and behold, in no time at all, one of her daughters said, Mommy, please don't go out and get that stuff from the yogurt from the supermarket. It's not nearly as good as what you make. I thought that was really wonderful.
That is great.
So now we have to patiently wait and watching the thermometer. It's still way too hot. We are waiting for it to get down between 120 and 105 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is perfect incubation temperature. So while we're waiting for that to cool, Mike is going to give us some information about making non-dairy yogurt, and I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
It's very similar. We're going to follow all of the same steps, and we're going to use essentially the same ingredients. The big difference is you can choose cashews or coconut milk. And let me tell you why not to use coconut milk. It makes everything taste like coconut. You read any online recipe you want, and there's, oh yeah, use coconut. Don't use coconut. I don't like coconut. I don't want coconut flavor in anything, but you could. And I did try it to see. I really wanted to get price per volume ideas on making this at home.
Very good idea.
So I bought this can for $2.75.
I'll bet these they are not roasted and they're not salted, I'll bet you.
That is correct. Raw, unroasted.
Raw, wonderful.
Yeah, I like to look on the label for raw.
Raw, yes.
If you've used these for any of the other vegan recipes, which everybody has, you know you need to soak them overnight, and there's a little bit of a debate on whether you use boiling water and set it for a certain amount of time. If you use room temperature water, let it sit for a certain amount of time. The point is that when you drain the water out and rinse them off, and I'm going to stick my fingers in this, don't do this unless you've washed your hands. We need these same sanitary conditions. What you want is a cashew that doesn't snap like a nut. It needs to be soft.
Oh, yes.
So that way, we'll drain the cashews and then we'll rinse them.
Oh, you will discard that water?
Mm-hmm.
Aha.
You can keep it for other recipes. I don't. We'll put that into the blender and we add just 2 tablespoons of sugar and just a pinch of salt, just tiniest little bit. 1.5 cups of water.
Oh, so you do add clean water, you don't use this water?
Don't use this water where my grubby little fingers have been, and you probably shouldn't use tap water unless you know that it's been filtered.
Not city water?
I distill my city water and filter my city water and have made this batch with city water, asterisk, but it has been filtered. For the same reasons we talked about with the stove. We want to grow the good bacteria and not the bad ones. And so we'll get it to about this texture.
Oh, that's after it's been blended?
Yes. And then we let it cool, same way as yours is in the cooling step.
Well, how is it heat? Did the blender make it hot?
No, once we put it in the blender with the water and we blend everything up, instead of using the stove step, we could use that same stove step and be at the same step we are now. Or we can use an Instapot. I use an Instapot just because I have one and it's easier than my stove.
Very nice.
And I will take these into here with just a touch of water. If you have a yogurt setting, use that. I don't. I use the saute setting and I use the thermometer. For starter, if you're a vegan that uses probiotic medications to keep your gut health balance in, you can use about 3 of the regular size capsules. Capsules they have to take apart, not the pills. And they have to be live cultures.
Absolutely, the live part of it is very important.
Mm-hmm. If you aren't using those pills, the vitamin shop will gladly sell them to you for about $50 a box. Don't do that. You would go get a vegan yogurt from the grocery store and you look on the label for where it's going to show you that it is live and active cultures.
And you do the same thing with dairy yogurt.
Then we'll be at the same stage where we're waiting on the temperature to add the live. The only other difference from our starter ingredient, some people like to use coconut milk. Mm-hmm. Make sure it's light coconut milk, not regular coconut milk, not heavy coconut milk, not cream of coconut. It's a whole thing.
What is the difference, do you know?
The fat content.
Ah.
And that'll make your different types of yogurt. But once you hit heavy coconut milk, from there up, you're just making a glob.
Oh, so it doesn't make it dairy milk. My memory of it, when it was not homogenized, the cream at the top was still very delicious.
Yes.
It wasn't a glob.
When I worked on the family dairy, that's where we would skim it from as well.
Pretend for a moment that this is actually cooled down to no more than 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And we are going to now mix up the starter yogurt. Now, if you don't have homemade yogurt, just as Mike described, go to a supermarket. You must have live cultures in it, and a good yogurt will always list. And I personally strongly recommend you get whole milk yogurt to start. And you only need a tablespoon or so for 3 pots for this the quantity that I have used. This is from my last batch of yogurt. And incidentally, an important point to make is always save some of your new yogurt for the next batch of yogurt that you're going to make in a couple of weeks or whenever you're going to do it.
Yes, because hopefully this plastic tub that you buy as your starter will be the last plastic non-recyclable tub like this you buy, because you'll be switching to reusable containers.
And I need to tell you where this original great-great-great-great-great-grandmother of the yogurt, where did it come from? It actually came from Armenia. 3 years ago, one of my daughters and I traveled to Armenia, and I remember my grandmother's madzun, or what we call the Armenian name is madzun, not yogurt. Yogurt is the Turkish word. So we traveled there, and I said, you know, my grandmother's yogurt was so wonderful. I want to get some yogurt and somehow put it in a little glass bottle and bring it home. And maybe it was illegal. I don't think it was though. And I brought a little tiny bit in a little bottle like this, a little glass bottle, not plastic, not one-use plastic. And I brought it home, and it made the first time beautiful yogurt. I was so excited. That's the great-great-great-great-great-grandmother of all the ones I've been in the last 3 years. So that's where this comes from.
Well, thank you for breaking the stereotype, because for the viewers at home, if they were to look between the two of us and which one was bringing an illegal biological agent through NSA, clearly that's you and not me. Thank you.
So we are going to now take, if I can, the spoon's not going to fit. Well, that's funny. Have we got a knife or something? You better.
Would you like to use my
thank
spoon?
You very much. I'll use the little one. Sorry about that. I didn't test the size. Now I'm just going to guess that this is about a tablespoon. It's always better to have a little extra. Thank you so much. And now all I'm going to do is make a smooth, liquidy mixture so that when this is cooled down enough, it will be very easy to put a good spoonful and a half, I would say, in each one of these pots, but not now because it's too hot. But this is what you do. You do that, and then you put the caps on the lids on the. And by the way, though these happen to be the canning jar lids, it's only because I couldn't get this kind. I didn't have enough of them. You don't have. I'm not going to can it, and there's no need for these. You can just use these. And this is how I incubate my yogurt, and everybody has their own system. But it's very easy to have a small cooler, and I happen to have a piece of fleece, just to give extra insulation to it. And then this is where they get tucked in ever so nice and cozily.
Nice little bed for them.
Nice little bed. It's just like putting a pussycat to bed, or even a little dog. And so then you tuck them nicely, the 3 pots in here, close the lid, and then you put it in a still place. You don't want to jiggle and wiggle it now. Remember, this has got the starter in it. The bacilli are doing their work. They're alive. They're making beautiful yogurt for you. And you just leave it still and quiet. And I like to do it overnight just because it's convenient. So I tend to cook up my milk in the evening and just do the whole system. It only takes a little while. What's happening inside there is that the lactose, the sugar in milk, which is to a lot of people are allergic to that. The wonderful bacilli are digesting that lactose and turning it into lactic acid, which gives it the tang. And it also means that most people who are lactose intolerant can still eat really good yogurt, which is a very nice thing to know. It saves spending more money for lactose-free whatever milk product you want. Just to show you what happens in the end, the next morning, you take it out and this is what you see. Beautiful, thick, and let me take a spatula and show you that this is a thick, delicious product. Then you just put them in the refrigerator, and I find that if I, for example, am going away or something, up to a month at least, they last really very well indeed. I mean, I've had them, I regret to say, sometimes even longer. The odd bottle gets the back of the refrigerator, maybe 2 months. It's still very, very good. It tends to get a little more sour. It's still actually cooking a little bit, even in the refrigerator temperature. But if you like it milder, because what's happening is the lactose is turning into an acidic product, which gives you the tang in your mouth. If you don't like it quite that way, don't do it overnight. Do it for 4 hours. You probably need at least 4 hours. I'd say incubated, kept nice and warm. Remember, too, there's a chemical reaction going on with your bacilli turning the lactose into lactic acid, and so it's generating some warmth. So this will stay warm for hours, and it's not because it's so well insulated, though that helps. It's because there's a chemical reaction which gives out a little heat. So it's a magical. It really is magical, and of course the product is absolutely delicious. By the way, eating this in the evening is very good for your gut.
The last thing over here, so we did the heating step on sauté, and now we've let it cool, and we've added our starter. We've gotten to about this consistency. This has been refrigerated, so it's a little bit thicker, and as our Instapot cools down, I like to get around 85 to 90 for my cool down, because the Instapot is going to seal. Once your starter is in, your jars are in here, and you seal this thing.
Oh, I see, yes.
And that's where it'll culture overnight. I'm the same way, I leave it overnight.
Because we like the tang.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point. But is there heat going? You mentioned 85. Is that your incubation temperature for the?
That's why I try and stay around.
So yes. It's a little cooler than mine. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And it holds the heat well throughout the night, as long as you remember to close the vent.
Yes.
So let's say you don't close the vent, or let's say that perhaps it was a little warmer. Yeah, there's things that
go wrong
happen
sometimes.
Mm-hmm. When that happens, you can end up with a mixture more like this. Now, as long as it is not covered in mold, or you're showing clear signs of something infectious has happened, this is now sour cream. I drain the water off, and I add in apple cider vinegar to give it that tang.
How much?
For this size jar, 2 teaspoons.
2 teaspoons.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you stir it as you carefully as you pour it in, or it doesn't curdle or anything?
No, it doesn't curdle.
Because it's already acidic.
Yeah. You can also do the same. This one was coconut, but you could do the same with your cashews if the.
Was this actually was this the end product of a coconut milk?
Yes. And I did not give it the care and attention I should have. I know that is entirely my fault. I don't like the coconut, so I don't care if it made it or not.
You didn't like it, and it was rebelling.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
My only last note, just for people that are curious at home, these 4 jars came from 2 cups from this bag. Oh. So the bag was $5, and I'm estimating I'm getting 8 jars out of that. So if that gives you a price point of making your yogurt at home.
That's very good. And of course I think I mentioned that for us, really the cost is the cost of the milk, yes. Nothing more. And so when I think of how much they charge for the little cups, I think it's, amazing that the whole world doesn't make their own yogurt. And, of course, the question of all that waste ruining our oceans and microplastics and all of that. So I'm very much into as much glass and reusable as possible. Now, I believe we have some tasters who are actually going to taste our products with great honesty, how they like them or not. They'll love them, of course. But we won't tell them. We'll wait and see what they have to say. So we're going to be moving to the next room and asking them please to taste and tell us what they think. Come on, you bring one too.
But they're not there.
No, I know they're not there, but you can still, so you can have your back walking away. Hello.
Hello,
I'm
Paula.
bringing some yogurt made from 4% or regular full-fat milk with some dried milk in it to give it even more substance. There are no additives, and of course within there's these wonderful live bacilli doing their work, fermenting and making a delicious, very good for you.
Hi, Mike.
How are you?
What do you got?
I'm bringing the non-dairy yogurt to the table.
Non-dairy.
Interesting.
Wow. Can't wait to hear.
Are there 2 different kinds?
There are 2 different kinds.
Yogurt is not difficult to make. There is a little bit of an art to it. You make yogurt for the price of the milk, that's all. And when you think of the economics of it, I don't know why everybody doesn't make their own yogurt.
Pretty expensive, I think. So you're saying that the only thing you've bought is milk?
Yes.
Dried milk and fresh milk?
Yes.
Wow.
So
Can't wait to
This
taste
looks
it.
beautiful. Yeah, it's pretty.
Some people put flavoring or sweetener in the milk while it's to incubate, but I do it afterwards, and I have fresh berries from the garden or whatever I fancy.
Yeah, this tastes delicious. It tastes fresh. I mean, it tastes very fresh.
And you can make, of course, cucumber and mint yogurt salad, which is so delicious. So you can make it savory things. I substitute mayonnaise in mixes. For example, if I'm making a tuna fish sandwich, I don't use mayonnaise. I use my own yogurt and as a binder.
It makes other commercial ones taste bland. This has got a much sort of, I can't explain the texture. Sort of,
and there's no gumminess to it.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
That's
really,
delicious.
yeah,
Very
it's
clean,
delicious.
fresh taste to it. Delicious. Whoa.
Yeah, I'm inspired.
Well, now we see we might be turned over to the non-dairy.
Just as a base, I'm assuming neither of you have eaten vegan yogurt.
No.
No.
Okay, so this one sets the bar. This one is a soy-based and it comes from the store. Then using that one as a starter, and then using nuts, cashews, we've made this one. I find it to be a very mild flavor, which is why I brought you honey, and since neither of you being vegans, the honey would be a good sweetener for it. This one is completely unflavored. It'll be a little on the nutty end.
So like, should we start with this one? Okay.
Start with the store-bought one. God, I've never thought, I'm afraid, so ignorant, I've never even heard of non-dairy yogurt.
And you said this is soy. Okay.
Tastes like it's got vanilla or something in it.
It does.
Yeah. Okay.
You've got very sensitive taste buds.
Yep. We got
It's
the
also
baseline.
expensive, which is why we switched to making our own at home.
Wow.
And you said this was made with this as a starter?
We use the live cultures from this. You can also use probiotics. Probiotic capsules, it takes about 3 to put into the batch, and a bottle of them cost about $50. So that again changes the price point.
Oh, it does.
Sort of like
Does it taste like labna?
Ferrex.
Do you know labna?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, labna, I love that. That's easy to make too.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's very interesting. So this you could add the honey to this one.
If you want a little
I
sweetener.
prefer yours to that one actually, I think.
Yeah, I
It
do
has a little
too,
bit more
yeah.
texture.
Yeah,
Well there, my God, we learned something.
I know. And so this has the probiotic.
It does. It's also very high in protein because it's coming from nuts.
Yes,
Yeah, I like
yes.
Very good.
Very
Yeah,
good
that
for
was-
you.
Yeah.
Do you have that every day?
I don't eat yogurt.
Oh, you don't? After all that.
I eat mine every day. Yes.
They're very different, I
there's
have to
something-
say,
yeah.
aren't they? They're not the same in a way.
But
They're
yeah,
different.
there's something about the homemade aspect though that does make it taste so, you get that fresh, kind of real flavor that's experience, and it's I could do
like when
either, but I tend to be kind of a traditionalist. Nothing against the cashew thing, because that if I was ever go vegan, I could see that being a totally
that's the answer.
Yes, that there's something waiting there on the other side of the vegan bridge. That
It's sort of like when you have hummus, the bought hummus just tastes of nothing.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't taste of anything really. And then you have real hummus and it's like, whoa, I can't believe
it's a
this is what
different
it's.
experience.
Yes, as if they've watered it down. And yours yogurt didn't taste watered down.
Yeah, no, delicious. You
No,
guys.
thank you. Thank you very much.